All right, Chad, on to the finals of the Aichi Championships. Another Imu mirror. We saw this player on the left side last time on the odd curve, taking down his opponent. Imu being heralded as the best deck in the format. In this tournament, though, was not the #1 most populous deck in the meta. Ace contributing 25% of the meta. It's definitely a very large meta share that we don't see very often in the One Piece trading card game for a tournament. Imu taking up 18%, but being the only deck within the top 4. Seems fitting, right? To have Imu be the entirety of top 4, right? Behind the scenes, controlling everything, right? Somebody tell me that I'm correct on that, Reed. I'm not caught up in One Piece at all. Listen, if you're itching for a brand new playmat, now is the time to check out Nen Garden, the sponsor of this video. Not only do they have brand new pre-orders up on their website for Chaos Crew, Green Fury, and the Absolute Ruler designs, which by the way, are phenomenal. But if you're a fan of Goldie Roger, Nen Garden actually put out a new playmat called the Journey's End, showcasing Goldie Roger himself, and you yourself can find his One Piece with the possibility of a 1 in 20 chance to get the special wanted playmat. And on top of that, if you're like me and you absolutely prefer cloth mats, Nen Garden has officially posted on their site cloth mats for Green Fury, Absolute Ruler, Berserk, and Journey's End. Plus, if you want a ton of other great accessories that aren't just playmats, they've got the King of Hearts t-shirt, matching pin, other pins alongside of it through the Whole Cake Island, and even stickers. Make sure with whatever you want in Nen Garden, use my code Atrocious for 8% off. The link to their website is in the description below. Thank you so much for Nen Garden for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to that video. So it looks like our player on the left side going first in the top 4 match is going first again in this finals. Player on the left side, we see a searcher event, right, to be able to get going, but with Marcus Mars, a couple Jupiters, and an Equilibrium, it could go downhill fast. Depending on this right side, right, we saw in that top 4 how impactful multiple searches was at the beginning of the game to set up your end game. Paid off very, very well in that top 4 match. The right side, though, no searches at all. Does have a Charlos to be able to play on 2 to be able to mill 1 card. Also have a Workery blocker. So I don't know. I would actually think the advantage is on the right or on the left side right now. Just being able to have more searches, faster trash buildup. Although definitely depends on the draws for turn, depends on the leader effect draws, depends on the life. So a lot of factors that can play into this. Don't count anybody out as of yet. And we're off. Looks like for the one going to be using leader effect. And now the searcher event to be able to get 4 cards in trash. Finds a Saturn. So Saturn going to be the automatic grab, right? Like I mentioned, especially on 3 with that Mary Joie stage on the field that you were able to play out before the game started because of your leader effect, the card that you always play in the mirror match. Going to be able to play that Saturn for 3 in the next turn. So now the player on the right side is going to go ahead, use his leader effect first, pitches the Nazjuro. So interesting to see him pitch Nazjuro. I feel like Nazjuro, just a great card in the mirror match. Is going to go ahead and play that Charlos for 1, mill 1 card, a Workery to build up the trash of his own and pass the turn. You do get a 2-drop blocker onto the field, which is nice, but you would have loved to have a little bit of searching, especially because you know that this Imu is going to go ahead and play a Saturn. So starts out with a 5,000 power swing at leader, taking that first life, finds a Shalrio, which can be very good, right? Shalrio into Saturn could be some nice trash buildup and whatnot, some key pieces. Ends up pitching a 10-cost Elder and playing the Saturn. So using that Saturn, looking at that top 5 for a 5 Elder, finds a couple different options that he can utilize. I think Nazjuro might be the pick, if I'm remembering his hand correctly. So Nazjuro is going to be the one to snag. And we'll pass off the turn from there, having already used leader effect. Now the player on the right side going on to 4 Dawn. Finds a Workery yet again. So again, still has the Shaoria, so can still have some saving grace on this turn. So swings 5, ends up taking the life to find a Shaoria of his own. And the search, I think, still does not find a Saturn right here. So the Shaoria going to be grabbing the It Was Never There. I think immediately pitching it from the effect. Shaoria does find a Celestial Dragons type card, so would be able to find that 1-cost event, but does not choose it this time around. The leader effect, after pitching the Shaoria, only finds a Shirahoshi. So for 3, instead of playing down a Saturn, you're going to be playing a Workery, pretty much almost a mirror of the top 4 game. Just a little bit extra search for this right side player on the left. Doing pretty okay, I think, in this game. Now sitting at the 5 Dawn turn. Don't remember how many cards are in trash for the player on the right side. Could play Marcus Mars, depending on the leader effect. If he has 7 or more cards in trash, would be able to protect his Workery. So does not have 7 cards in trash, has 6. So if you want to play the Marcus Mars now through the Mary Joie effect for only 5 Dawn, you have to play it now before you swing. As soon as you swing, he can counter out, go to 7, get the protection effect, and we see the Marcus Mars pitching the Nazjuro to get rid of the Workery. The Workery now drawing 1 card. Now you can swing without having to worry about a big body coming at you in the next turn. Uses leader effect to pitch the Workery of his own, finds a 2K. Now the Saturn swinging 5,000 at lead is going to force a card out of hand to a life or this Charlos blocker, and still has leader to swing with. And so here's the thing about the mirror match. What do you pitch at this point? Do you go ahead, go down to 2? And that's exactly what he's doing. Finds a Jupiter now on this swing. Definitely don't want to be going down to 1. Could maybe block with the Charlos or pitch a card in hand. With a 5K swing, I don't know if you want to throw out a 2K. Yeah, like the early stages of the game, loading information, like you're trying to aggressively search, right? You're trying to play Shaoria, you're trying to play the 1-cost event, you're trying to play Saturn to be able to find like your different combo pieces to get ready for the 10 Dawn turn. Also trying to find a little bit of counter, right? Maybe some cards specifically to pitch off of leader effect, things of that nature, and ends up 2K'ing out of that swing. So ends up over countering on that one. Did not want to give up any of his elders. Draws a Shirahoshi for a turn, and now at 6, Dawn could go ahead and play something like the Nazjuro, right, to get a rush swing in. Could go something along the lines of like Nazjuro 1-cost searcher event to be able to build up just a little bit more. So I was thinking about, I think, using the 1-cost searcher first, build up the trash a little bit, find a combo piece, finds a Nazjuro, immediately grabs that, does not think about the Marcus Mars. And so ends up playing that Nazjuro, right? I think has 10 in trash. 5, 11. Has 11 cards in trash, so is going to try to control the board a little bit, right? Swings with the Nazjuro first. Gets that minus 2,000 on the Saturn. Now the Saturn is a 3,000 power body for the entire rest of the turn. So now the player on the left side really needs to think about, okay, do I need a counter off of this, right? Because you know that a leader swing is probably more than likely going to come at this Saturn if it stays on the field. But the bodies that you have on the field are very valuable in the matchup, as we saw within the top 4 match. Woo, it's late. Ends up going with a block and 1K. Ends up pitching the Charlos. Now the 5,000 power swing going at that Saturn, which is 3,000. Ends up going 2K, 1K. 2K, I'm sorry, to get out of that swing. Over countering a little bit, but keeps the body on the field, as I mentioned. Now, you're going to be able to have 2 swings, 3 potentially, if you don't play a Nazjuro yourself coming in at this Imu on the right side. Hand advantage now towards the right side for sure, but that hand sides can go down fast. Uses leader effect on the War Curie, ends up drawing 1 card for a Saturn, finally finding his first Saturn, passing off the turn. Now coming up to 7 Dawn on the left side here. Has a couple different options, right? Could play a Nuzjuro, but also could play Jupiter, right? Jupiter would be able to make your different characters 7,000 power on the offensive side, but Nuzjuro will be able to get a rush, right? Especially because you have 10 cards in trash. You're going to be able to get that minus 2,000 power. So just does exactly what his opponent did. Checking out the amount of elders in there, the amount of 2Ks. Something you always got to be cognizant of, especially in this mirror match. And ends up getting the KO on the first swing. Still has Saturn, still has Mars, still has leader now on this 5,000 power swing. Maybe he's going to try to feint that he has a counter event or 2 in hand. Or maybe getting 1 off life. It's 5,000 power swing, just a 1K counter. Is thinking about pitching the Saturn, so just goes ahead and pitches the Saturn. And then a 2K on the second swing with the Shirahoshi. And so now going aggressive with the Mars, gets another 2K out of hand. You love seeing the 2Ks on the 5K swings. Now with the Shalria, just doing a little bit more mill, finds 3 different counter events. So which one do you grab? Which one's the most important? I think the It Was Never There is the most important, right? Equilibrium can only be used on your leader. So allows you to potentially protect one of these characters on the field, especially with a Nuzjuro maybe coming in on the clapback. Now the Imu on the right side going on to the 8 Dawn turn. Does have a Nuzjuro in hand, right? We saw him keep that over the Saturn. So he uses leader effect, pitching a 2K. So does find a 1-cost searcher event. Might see that get played right away, but is going to go ahead with the Nuzjuro first. Played for 5, still has 3 Dawn left. Is going to be able to swing at the board. Remember the minus 2,000 power is going to stay. So swinging at the opposing Nuzjuro is going to get that KO. Now swinging 5 at 5 with the Imu. Could just be a 1K counter on the Charlos. Could go ahead, use the It Was Never There. Ends up going with the Charlos. Now the searcher event going in, finds a 2K in the Jupiter or the Saturn. Looking like a really interesting game. Neither player having a 10 cost at this point. Especially for the player on the right side going to 10 Dawn in the next turn. Ends up playing a Charlos, mills in Equilibrium, has 2 blockers on the field. So Imu now going on 9 Dawn. Is going to use his leader effect with the originally It Was Never There. Does find his first 10 drop, but can't play it on this turn. May go ahead with something like Saturn. Saturn to be able to get a body on the field. You may see something, I think you really have to choose. I mean, you could play Saturn and Jupiter both at the same time. Be able to go wide on the board to be able to swing in the coming turns, but you would lose pretty much all the cards in your hand. More bodies is more swings, as we've learned in this tournament. Starts out with a 5K swing over at lead, or maybe at the Nuzjuro. Not 100% sure. It looks like a block is going to be prompted on the first. Saturn comes in 4-3, looking at that top 5, trying to find a piece, maybe a little bit of counter. A Nuzjuro is a great piece to potentially have. Maybe instead of the Jupiter, you get the Nuzjuro, you play that down, and you go ahead and try with one more swing because you get that rush to be able to remove this and get more swings focused in on the life. Gets that KO, now swinging these Saturns. These are 5,000 power swings, right? Because there is no Jupiter on the field. So ends up getting the Charlos on the block there. Now the swings coming in. If I'm the Imu player on the right or left side, I swing with everything I have, right? All the blockers. Nothing on field you're really scared of at this point. So the 5K swing can definitely counter out of both of these swings. Does also have the 1 cost. Originally, it was never there. I don't know. This mirror has been fascinating, in my opinion. And so here we go to 10. 10 now drawing for turn. Does top deck the 10 Elder. So maybe makes this a slight bit easier in terms of a choice that he can make. The Imu on the left side, only 2 cards in hand, just a 2K counter, no blockers on the field. So you'd imagine that at least one of these bodies going down if a 10 cost Elder is played. In terms of a potential Imu ban restriction, I think it would we would have to see the OP14 meta. If the OP14 meta doesn't change anything, then I think it would, but I don't think it would be before. So here comes the 10 cost, ends up using the effect, gets rid of the originally it was never there to get the Elders, right? The 1 cost events at this stage of the game. Not useful as you have no Dawn open. Ends up on the search, does find the 2K, but also finds a Saturn. Saturn could be nice to be able to play on the next turn for another search if you needed to. Goes ahead, puts that in the hand. Still has these swings to be able to utilize with Leader and the Nuzjuro. Nuzjuro going to be a 7,000 power swing. Imu Leader going to be 5,000 power. 7,000 power over at probably the Nuzjuro if I had to take a guess. It's interesting. You could swing at the Marcus Mars. So ends up doing that 2,000 power difference strategy like I mentioned earlier, where you minus 2,000 power one of the bodies and swing at the 5,000 power with your Nuzjuro, right? And so ends up getting that first knockout on the Nuzjuro. The Imu probably swinging at the Marcus Mars because I think that's what he minused with the Nuzjuro. If I was him, I think I would swing at the Mars. I think the thing that you're worried about, though, is if the hand is 2K, 1K, he'll be able to get out of this swing. But I don't think you can get him mathed out and lose. So ends up using Leader effect first before going in and committing a swing. Ends up finding a 2K. Now going in with the swing with lead. I think actually just swinging at lead. Yeah, because the 2K Jupiter going to be able to get out of that. And so maybe the Nuzjuro minus was on the Nuzjuro, sorry. And so a 5,000 power swing at lead with Saturn. If he's got the 10 cost, it's going to be able to get that off, right? So that's 5 swings in total. Can you get out of 5 swings? One being 7,000 power. So is going to 1K out with Saturn. Another 5,000 power swing. Just one more card out of hand. Got another Saturn. Ends up going with the Jupiter, though, 2K. Uses Leader effect on the Saturn to draw 1 card. Shalria. So now another 5,000 power swing. Is once again just another card in hand. You'll only expect 2 more at this point. Going down to 0 on this swing. Finds an equilibrium event. Ends up going with the 10 cost. 10 cost going to be able with that final Dawn to get out all 5 of the Elders. And ends up pitching Shalria on there. The Saturn is going to be able to draw 1 card, which is so helpful at this point. Build up a little bit of counter in hand and still add 3 life, 2 blockers. Able to find something in the Nuzjuro. I think it's going to be hard to lose at this point. I think player on the left side got to be feeling pretty good at this point. So now the Nuzjuro coming in 7,000 power. Can go 2K, 1K to get out of it. Could also block with the Workery, but I think countering out, just keeping your bodies up as much as possible is the correct play. Ends up going with that. Draws 1 card off the top. It is not a 10 cost Elder. It's a Nuzjuro. Nuzjuro is nice, right? Because you are going to be able to get a rush and still have Dawn to be able to utilize 5 Dawn exactly. Well, it was a little switch. And ends up swinging 7 to start. Again, only few cards in the hand for this Imu on the left side. Ends up taking the first life. It's a 1K. Leader effect on the Saturn. Drawing 1 card. Another chance. But no 10 cost. Now has to go for it. Takes the second life. is no counter because no Dawn left up. Good swing with the Warcury. If you go with the Warcury, it is an all-in play. You only have 3 swings, though. So I think because there's 2 blockers in Warcury and Marcus Mars, it's going to be tough. Oh, I'm sorry. Now you have 2 swings left. You can technically get there. And with the 8,000 power swing, blocks with the Warcury, draws 1 card. It's a non-counter card, only 9K worth in hand. And here's the 8K swing. All you have to do is just get out of this 1 swing. Ends up blocking it. Now with the Nuzjuro, is going to swing now at the Nuzjuro. The full counter right there, passes off the turn, no blockers in hand. Player on the left side is going to be crowned your Aichi champion right here with a big 15 swing at lead. Imu taking down this one and dominating this tournament, I would say, especially at the beginning of this tournament, not being the #1 deck in the overall meta. If we take a look back at the overall deck distribution of this championship, this 1,300 player championship, 25% of the room was Ace and only 18% was Imu. Definitely an interesting one. We saw a little bit of Nami in the top 8 and the top 16 matches, couldn't make it through. Roger Zoro also appearing in the top 16. So that's going to be the end of the tournament. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please, as well, subscribe for more. I do all of these championships, English commentary, no matter how good or bad you may think the meta is. I will do it because I'm practicing commentary.